Hello and welcome to episode 192 of The Joy of Coding. Hello, how's it going? My name's Mike Conley. So happy to have you here. Chances are you're actually probably not watching this on YouTube, or at least not the live recording on YouTube, because apparently the live stream on YouTube is not working. I'm streaming to at least Twitch and Mozilla, but for some reason YouTube is not receiving me, for reasons that are beyond me. I don't know why that is. I apologize. I'm just going to write a message. Sorry, folks. YouTube stream appears to not be working. I'm going to post a link to the... really quickly, let me just drop a link to the Twitch stream. Twitch stream is here. Booyah. So, yeah, let's get started. What are we up to today? Well, first of all, let me share my screen and pull up the agenda. Yeah, today is episode 192. A reminder, no plan survives breakfast. I kind of know what I want to do today, but who knows how it's going to go. Things might go horribly wrong. I might get sidetracked. Messages might arrive. In fact, I should probably turn off the notifications in Slack right now. Messages might arrive to distract me, or we might get stuck on something. Who knows? Or things will go really well and I'll get a lot of stuff done today. Who's to say? None of it's really pre-planned. So just keeping that in mind. The other thing I want to mention is that this agenda that we're looking at with all these fancy schmancy links is available to you. If you're watching this recording on YouTube, then you can check out the link in the video description for a link to the agenda. And if you're watching this on Mozilla, then it's in the handout section to my right, your right, my left. And if you're watching this on Twitch, well, let me just drop the link into Twitch right now. Here we go. Into Twitch it goes. Agenda. Booyah. There it is. I'm doing this thing off screen here because I'm trying to get Wacky Morning DJ to work. 242.266. So my IP address had changed. And that's why I couldn't connect. But here it is. I'm connecting now, and now I don't need to use this other machine. Great. Okay, so I can close that window. What are we up to today? Great question. Well, there are a number of things I'd like to do. Number one, I'd like to clear my review queue. I've got 4 review requests in my review queue here. I'd like to get those cleared. The next thing I want to do is try to work on Fission Talos compatibility and analysis. And what that means is, so this Fission project is underway. The Fission project means splitting out our content processes so that subframes are also rendered in their own processes. And that's like a major undertaking. If you remember electrolysis and the multi-process Firefox project, this is like the next logical step. And it's a big project. And one of the things we want to do is get a sense of the performance impact of turning on Fission. We can start measuring, we can start tracking regressions, and we can start working on improving the responsiveness of the browser. So we have a number of built-in benchmarks that we'd like to make sure work with Fission and that make sense with Fission enabled, so that they're testing the right things. And so that's what maybe we can do today. But first I want to clear my review queue. But before I even go into any of that, I realized I skipped over the episode guide. And we actually have we have something in our review queue from the episode guide. So the episode guide is a completely viewer-driven resource that's just for you, the people who watch this stream. And what it is it's exactly what it says on the tin. It's a guide to all of the Joy of Coding episodes that are available. And if you click on any of these guides, you get a sense of what I worked on, maybe links to bugs, or some point form breakdowns of things that I talked about, maybe some handy links and links to the agenda and the video, and that can be pretty handy, especially if you're searching. If you're maybe searching for something I had worked on, you could search the episode guide without having to leaf through all the different episodes. And so the episode guide is a it's hosted by GitHub. It's in a GitHub repository. If you're not sure what I mean by that, you can click on the links in the agenda to figure out how you can contribute your own notes, your own addenda. Maybe you want to flesh out an episode guide. Maybe you want to make it more correct, or maybe you maybe I made a mistake and you want to correct it, or maybe you want to expand upon something or offer an alternative to something. The episode guide is for you, the viewers. It's not for me, it's for you. So what are the things that you find interesting? Why don't you send me a pull request to the episode guide? I merge lots of stuff in. I'm happy to merge your stuff in. So send me pull requests to the episode guide, things that you might find interesting. And again, there's a contributing guide here if you're not sure how to send a pull request. And the reason I bring it up is because there's also, I believe, a pull request waiting in the repository from none other than Smurfd. Smurfd, very reliable contributor to the episode guide. Let's take a look at what Smurfd has sent. Episode 191. Oh, we have multi-row comments now, multi-line comments. That's great. Thanks. Boop. Neat. So yeah, that was last week. That's October 2nd. That looks right. Yep. Let's make sure that the video link makes sense. October 2nd. Yep. That's back when I had more of a beard. And then let's take a look at the agenda. Yep, that's correct. Take a look at what we were talking about. The Matrix channel, which is shutting down this week. If you are using the sort of the test instance of Matrix that I've been hanging around in just to kind of test it out, that's shutting down this week. The evaluation for what we're going to replace IRC with, the deliberation kind of begins soon. So if you're curious about what that is going to look like, I highly recommend following Mike Hoy's blog. Mike Hoy is the one spearheading this effort. I highly recommend following his blog. Let's see here. He'll probably put it under this category. So let me put a link to that in the agenda. Matrix server is shutting down, and IRC replacement evaluation begins now. Follow Mike Hoy's blog here for updates. All right, let's see. So what else did we talk about in this episode? Matrix, and then we were working on the JS window actor stuff for picture-in-picture, and I showed how MozFab works, and assisted Nika with some context menu issues. Yeah, we're talking with Nika in IRC, and then, this all looks good. Oh, someone, he also added Fission as an other link here. That's a great idea. In fact, maybe I should just do that myself. E10S, I think, is, handy links. Yeah, let's add Fission to the top here. There's some documentation for what Fission is. I'll put that here. What is it, and how does it work? Okay, let's get started. So I've already talked about that, so let's work on clearing my review queue. Let's do that next. So I've got this add-on called My Queue Only, which lists the things that I have in my queue, and here are my 4 review requests. And I'm going to work on the oldest to the newest. This one's been sitting in my review queue for a couple of days now, and I really should get to it. So we have in Firefox this thing called the Enterprise Policy Engine, and it allows system administrators to manage large collections of instances of Firefox across like large install bases. So institutions like libraries, or at a place of work or something where a system administrator is managing a bunch of Firefox installs, this is a very handy tool for them. And they can use things like Windows group policy or configuration files to configure Firefox in such a way. And what this patch is about is adding more powers to the policy engine. In this case, so we're adding additional preferences for enterprise policies. So additional prefs are being added to Firefox 70. These are just suggestions. All are open to debate. Bookmarks, auto export HTML, bookmarks. They're open for debate. So these are all the prefs that got added, or he's proposing to add. And then I asked him, like, okay, these are open for debate. Who gets the call on which preferences get added here? Is this engineering's call or product's call? And Mike Kaplan goes, we don't really have a set process, but ultimately engineering gets to decide. The reason these various prefs come up at all is because in the past they've been able to set any pref they want. I'm trying to avoid opening that can of worms, although it has been discussed. Ew. So if you feel strongly one way or another, I definitely want to hear feedback. I placed the GitHub links in so we can see why people are requesting things. For most of these, my app could have set them in a user's profile so there usually aren't any security issues. It's just if we think that it's a bad idea for someone to mess with a particular pref. As a side note, the reason folks turn off things like block list, phishing, etc. is so that machines don't make any connections to the internet. So wow, okay. Yeah, what do these prefs do? So I think part of this episode is going to be me exploring what these prefs do. So let me... do I have any notebooks for code reviews? Active code reviews. All right. I guess I can put all of these in like closed code reviews. This is my only active code review. And what I want to know is, what are these prefs all doing? Well, it looks like they each have an issue associated. Okay, these two are associated with this. So I'm actually going to reorient this a little bit so that we've got the prefs, and then I'll put that underneath. This is just to organize things in my head. So I can see them and get a sense of all of their relationships. Oh, did I do that right? Such languages. So that one should be down here. And this is probably force disabled accessibility. So what's this one? Restore default bookmarks. Is it this one? Yeah. Okay. All right. So let us start thinking about these. What do they do? So let's look at the first policy and understand what's being asked for here. GPO wish, bookmarks auto export HTML. We are using Mozilla CFG to auto export HTML and then give it a file. What does that do? All right, let's ask the internet. What is Mozilla Zine Classic? Store their bookmarks in places that SQLite and use JSON as the format for backup stored in bookmark backups folder. So by default, bookmarks are no longer saved in HTML format. This preference allows bookmarks to be exported at shutdown to the profile folder as bookmarks.html. I see. So at shutdown, these preferences, I guess, will write any bookmarks to this file. Okay. That doesn't seem super dangerous. Let me write that down. This exports at shutdown. These prefs allow a user to write their bookmarks to an HTML file somewhere on disk. Let's see how the implementation works. So it's really just adding, there's this dictionary of preferences that we're allowing. Okay. And we'd add bookmarks file and auto export HTML. Okay. All right. Now this one's a security one. Let's understand what this one does. Set security mixed content, block active content. Trying to do this on try shows lots of oranges because of tests that expect the mixed content to load. So what is this? Blocking mixed active content. Mixed content blocking. What is it? Firefox protects you from attacks by blocking potentially harmful, insecure content on web pages that are supposed to be secure. Keep reading to learn more about it. I'm guessing by mixed they mean like mixed HTTPS versus HTTP. So certain resources have been loaded over like a secure network connection and some have not. Yeah, HTTP is not secure. It's open for eavesdropping and man-in-the-middle attacks. Most websites are served over HTTP because they don't involve passing sensitive information and do not need to be secured. When you visit a page fully transmitted over HTTPS, such as your bank, this means your connection is authenticated and encrypted. However, if the HTTPS page you visit includes HTTP content, the HTTP portion can be read or modified by attackers, even though the main page is served over HTTPS. When an HTTPS page has HTTP content, we call that content mixed. It's only partially encrypted, and even though it appears to be secure, it isn't. So that means that an attacker can replace the HTTP content on the page you're visiting in order to steal your credentials, take over your account, all sorts of things. How can I tell if a page has mixed content? You'll see a gray lock when you're on a fully secure page. To see if Firefox has blocked parts of the page that are not secure, click the gray lock. If you see a lock with a red line, it's mixed active content, and Firefox is not blocking insecure elements. Page is open eavesdropping. Gray lock with an orange triangle indicates that Firefox is not blocking insecure passive content such as images. So this is a bad one. Unblock mixed content. Unblocking insecure elements is not recommended but can be done. Okay, so what does block active content? Is there an option to add a preference in GPO so we can do this action by ourselves? No, right now if you had to add customizing, you need to use autoconfig. Block active content. Why would we do that? Why would we allow users to turn off blocking active content? Unless on this, so it's possible for a system administrator to have certain components or certain parts of the page coming over HTTPS and other parts not. And if they are controlling the whole ecosystem, maybe they don't care about eavesdropping because it's in like some kind of intranet. I can see that being useful. Okay. Allow scripts to close windows. So hold on. Block active content. Blocks non-passive mixed content from loading. Insecure content, hang on. Insecure content from loading on a page that is supposed to be secure. There's a question inside of the Twitch chat. Nuri Sharpened asks, "Happy broadcasting, Mike. I would like to ask one question out of context. If can answer, I would be happy. Why does Mozilla remove whole JavaScript intern listings? Thank you. Did we remove the intern listings? Good question. I don't actually know. I do not know, Nuri Sharpened, because they did exist, and now they are gone. So to answer your question, I don't know. Oh, I'm just reading ahead because there were a flood of candidates, and we're currently evaluating the candidates. So we'll potentially reopen. I see. An influx of candidates was received. We have over 2,000 applicants for the JS intern roles alone, so we have to like process them. And while we're waiting to process them, we've taken the listing down. Interesting. Okay. Let's see here. Allow scripts to close windows. So what this does, if I remember correctly, is if you call window.close, normally that does nothing on, like if you're a script on a web page, window.close, unless the window was opened by a script, then the script cannot close the window. So for example, I'm going to open up a new window here, and if I open up my browser console, or yeah, the DevTools here, and I say window.close, scripts may not close windows that were not opened by script. However, I don't know if this is going to require a restart. Allow scripts to close windows. Wonder if now I can do window.close. Yeah, then it can close the window. I'm going to put that back. Scripts to close windows. Revert that. So that's what they want back. Allows scripts, Windows scripts to use window.close to close windows, even from close windows, even those that weren't opened by scripts. Browser download can confirm launch executable. What does this one do? Have updated to ESR68. What does this do? Browser download, skip, confirm, launch, executable. I need to open the JNLP file, but each time it shows me the message open executable files. How can I disable this message and open the executable file? Okay. So stops the prompt for asking if users want to open an executable and just does it. Yikes. Of course, at this point, if you're the system administrator or you are able to like write this file, then chances are you already have control over the machine. So is it really adding more risk? NTML through proxy. I'd like to be able to set this preference, automatic NTLM allow proxies. NTML through proxy. I do not know what this does. Preference determines whether to use the operating system's NTLM implementation. TLAN, Windows, LAN Manager. So it's some kind of protocol for a local network. You can get information, I guess, from the local network through this Windows API to silently authenticate the user with their Windows domain login with proxy servers. I see. Wow. Since 1.0. But that does sound pretty handy. Allows using NTLM Windows LAN thing, management thing, to silently authenticate users with a proxy. And these things, what do they do? I don't know. Like, I'm not a security engineer. I am security minded, but I'm not like a security auditor or anything. And some of these are pretty powerful. Like the mixed content one, what is it? This one allows you to like launch an executable silently. I wonder if like we need to have security think about some of these. These prefs already exist in Firefox. You can open up About Config and flip them yourselves. But what this is about is adding them to the whitelist of prefs that enterprise policies can influence as well. So system administrators can then set these preferences. And again, I don't know what the security model is there. Like, what's the threat model? If we have a system administrator, you're already like, you have someone who's like already got power over the machine. So what's the threat? I can understand there being like, oh no, like we're now fragile to you having this pref. You like, if we ever decide to rename this pref, we're breaking this policy. I can see that being a pain. Bookmark backup redirection. Microsoft has pushed a new Windows update that makes any attempt at redirection of app data fail. It's possible to create backups in HTML in Firefox that would suit our backup needs. Presumably that's the auto export HTML thing, right? Which will configure Firefox to automatically save a backup of bookmarks in the specified HTML location. It would be nice to have this configurable. Right, so that's related to this first two. Where do we talk about importing? Oh, two other items that would be useful for the backups, bookmarks backup and import are these two. So that allows you to, file and overwrite. I presume it allows you to say, hey, if this file already exists, just overwrite it. Guard against data loss by users. Set the automatic bookmark import-export behaviors removed. True when importing bookmarks into places. Make a copy as bookmarks pre-places HTML. Each time the browser quits, export the places bookmarks as bookmarks to HTML. I see. Pre-places. So, okay. And then import bookmarks HTML. Import the contents of bookmarks HTML into places and set the preference to false. If true, and then restore default bookmarks. When the browser starts in safe mode, copy the default bookmarks HTML file from the profile directory into the current profile. If we start in safe mode. All right. Well, those all sound relatively safe. This is about importing and exporting places to a bookmarks file in the profile directory at startup and shutdown. It also is a pref, includes a pref for reverting to the default bookmark set when in safe mode. accepted languages. Oh, I know what that one does. Changes the default set of languages that are accepted by the client as sent by the HTTP header. HTTP header accept languages. Okay, and accessibility force disabled, right? Force disables naturally the accessibility API, which can be good for performance. So those all sound good. Now this is different. Browser safe browsing phishing enabled. That wasn't part of the original list. From customers, oh, and then these ones. So I'm gonna add these. Question from Mike Capley on this one. What's the difference between this and setting permissions.default.geo? And then some more. Okay. So browser safe browsing phishing enabled. What the? What is this site? Document URL. Is this this is a bug. What? Is that because I've got a dark theme enabled? Dark mode, in content dark mode. Let me disable default. It's a trap. What was the site? It was like whoa. When did this break? That sounds like it's worth reporting, actually. You saw it here first, folks. Moz regression launch when. Let's look at the beginning of this month. Sorry to digress, but this is very interesting. So I'm going to use Moz regression to pull up a version of Nightly from the beginning of the month. See if this is a recent regression or not. Okay, let's go to this. It's a trap page here. Okay, that's good. So this is a recent break. Things have broken very recently here. This is now red. Let's find out when it broke. So now that we have a build where things are good, we can use Moz regression. So I'm going to show, this is very interesting for the people who are watching this. I'm going to show you how to use Moz regression to find a regression range. So mock Moz regression. Now that we know that the October 1st build is good, I'm going to say good, and then I say bad 2019. Actually, if you don't provide a bad, it assumes that the current build is bad. And then what it'll do is it's going to download builds between now and then, and like basically divide and conquer. So we have a range of builds where the problem doesn't exist and then suddenly it does exist, and our goal is to find the first build where the problem was introduced. So we'll like check the middle build and then see if the problem's there, and if it is, then we know that the problem is introduced over here. So then we check the middle of this and we bisect and bisect and bisect. So here, this one's good, so we'll say good, and meanwhile it's picked another build. Oh, I see. It's verifying right now. So it checked October 1st, and now it's checking October 9th. So it's checking the ends, either end, and then it will go in the middle. All right. So yeah, broken. So we say bad. So now it's running the October 5th build. That's in the middle. Broken. So it was broken sometime between October 1st and October 5th. So now we're trying October 3rd. This is it's not even restricted to just nightly builds. Once we have, so that's good, so we say good. Once it's down to an individual build, then we can start pulling artifacts from Tree Herder to see which actual push introduced the error. And from that, it's usually pretty simple to identify which change set actually caused the problem or introduced the problem. So this is a great way of like identifying where a problem came from, which is sometimes the best way of getting started on a bug, especially if it's a regression, is, well, where did the bug, what introduced the bug? Okay, so that's bad. So we say bad. So now we're switching. We know that the last good revision was on the 3rd of October. Now we're switching to the 4th. Oh, and the first bad revision was on the 4th of October. So now we're switching to builds that got created between those 2 days. So first running this revision right here. So we already have this like push log of revisions that we can look at. But let's keep going. We're almost done. It usually takes how many steps? Like 3 to 4 steps is usually pretty good. Oh, no. Sorry, I didn't mean to send you there. I meant to send you here. And this is bad. So we say bad. How many steps remaining? About 2 steps. So not many steps remaining. Ba-do-do. Bad. All right, about 1 step left, or 3 builds, roughly. We've narrowed the regression window from here to here. Now it's possible that we will have to narrow the regression range even further. We will see. It might switch to Autoland and want to narrow even further, so that's bad. Yeah, now it's switching to Autoland. So because all of the Autoland patches get sent in one big like merge, so one of the commits, we've identified the commit on Central that it was introduced with. However, that commit probably had a bunch of commits associated with it, like it was a merge commit. So now we have to like go to the original repository and bisect that one commit into like the actual lone commit that introduced the problem. Smurf D is like, this can probably take some disk space after one of these regression checks. Yeah, that's true, but I believe Moz Regression is pretty good at recycling. So it I think it writes the files to a temporary directory, yeah. So your at least on Mac OS, but I'm pretty sure this is on Windows and on Linux, is that like the operating system has this temporary directory structure, and it knows if it needs to reclaim some space, it can just like willy-nilly destroy things in the temporary directory. So we're almost there, folks. So that's good. 3 steps left. We might actually be able to identify it just by looking at the regression range now, or the changes. Might be this. Might be this one right here. And it's possible that the bug I'm looking for has already been filed. Wrong back. Oh, here, look. Wrong background color. Safe browsing warning text is unreadable. This is it. It looks like it was filed 21 hours ago. Yeah, so we found the bug. Yeah, and these aren't shippable, so it's tracking 71. Good. Okay, well that's good. We found the problem. Someone else already found it in front of us, so we can bail out. But good. We had to do my due diligence there, because if no one else had filed it, it was important that someone filed it. Because, yeah, Heis is right. I mean, this is not shippable in its current state. All right, so I'm going to put my theme back because I prefer blue. What the? I said I prefer blue. Thank you. What were the prefs we were looking at? Safe browsing phishing enabled. So presumably if you have this pref set to false, then you don't protect against phishing attacks. Disables set to false to disable phishing protection. Set to false to disable malware protection. And then the block list. Block list. Retrieve the list from a server. Do not retrieve the block list. Do not restrict extension installation. Okay. Disables the extension block list. And then geo-enabled. What is geo-enabled? Presumably that's the geolocation API. What is geo.enabled? Oh, that needs to be true in order to expose the geolocation API. And permissions default geo. Is the default permission. Right. So it's like by default we don't allow sites to automatically get your geolocation. So one exposes the API and one is like the permission default. Geo.enabled controls whether or not the API is exposed to the web. And geo permissions.default.geo is the default permission state for the API. Slow startup notification disabled. What's that? Web page loading slowly. If I asked if I want to end the slow script, don't ask me again. Click the checkbox and click OK. I do want to ask me again. Okay. Disables this web's. Oh, this is slow startup. Slow startup notification disabled. This is the slow startup one. Disables the... It seems that Firefox is taking a long time to start up. Notification bar. EME controls whether or not EME is enabled. That's obvious. Taskbars preview enable. What's that one? Web page previews. Oh, it's for these. Okay. Controls whether or not the taskbar peak preview is enabled. And then print, save, print settings. I think, hang on. What does this do again? Unless saving is prefed off, right? So controls whether or not we save the most recently used print settings. Pretty sure. Right, okay. So these are the prefs. Now, what are the ones I'm worried about? No, maybe, whoops, maybe. I'm gonna highlight the ones that I'm worried about. Maybe. 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 Oh, right, because they don't want it to connect to the network. Geo enables. Okay. And that's what I think Capley said. The reason folks turn off things like blocklist phishing is so the machines don't make any connections to the internet. I see. So maybe we can disable that. And then mixed content is if I can see that being useful if you have like an intranet that you control and that's got mixed content. And maybe a web application that you control. You want to close windows. This one is just bonkers. Stops. The one I probably have the most concern about is that because what's the use case there? Oh, hang on. Have updated and JNLP files are locked on execution. What is a JNLP file? Java networking launch file. It's an executable Java thing. I see. All right. I probably am not equipped to make the security call here, but I'm going to ask M. Capley to run the prefs by security and make sure that they're happy with it. But let's look at the patch now. allow proxies in param allow proxies and TLM. Allow proxies. What's this one? Negotiate off. Allow SPNEGO by default when challenged by a proxy server. SPNEGO, whoops. Simple and protected GSS API negotiation mechanism. SPNEGO. All right. Then we add the schema. And then these are the preferences that we allow. Force disabled. And it's a number of -1, 0, or 1. Is that true? Pref. Values are -1 always on, 1 always off, 0 is auto. Okay. Okay. Export HTML is a boolean, bookmarks file is a string, boolean, boolean. That makes sense. What happened to bookmark URL suggest bookmark? Oh, it went up here, I see. It moved. And then a test. Okay. Okay, so this seems okay. Sorry for the delay. Delay mcaply. This seems okay. And if you feel confident that we should be shipping these prefs to enterprise sysadmins, then that works for me. If you're looking for more of a debate or discussion, I really don't know the best way to evaluate that, as it's not really a problem space or threat space that I fully understand. Perhaps consult with security or product if you're looking for more of a discussion on whether or not these preferences are appropriate to ship in the enterprise policy engine. My only, maybe my only concern here is the potentially slippery slope of adding more and more more and more prefs to this thing. It's a bit like the web extension API. We don't want to accidentally, it's a bit like the old Jetpack API. I don't want to accidentally ship the Chrome Jetpack API, which is effectively, here are the keys to everything, to all of the prefs. If not for security, then for forward compatibility. Then at least for forward compatibility. Okay, submit. Next review. The next one was, I think this one's the next one. Simplify how we get directory information for plugins. Oh boy, this is a long patch. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through it in half an hour. Let's see if we can find a shorter one. Additional change to accommodate for XPC shell tests that are pulling in this file, as well as some leak issues that seem to come from storing a reference to the window in event utils. Another quick review. Here's the interdiff. I had reviewed this before. Size mouse at center. Seems okay. Still seems okay. For what it's worth, I know that KMag and the Fission crew are working to eventually deprecate content task in general. Content task and content task utils. So, but in the meantime, this is probably fine. Okay. Let's review this one. This is from a student who is working on porting the page style dialog. So many easy reviews, said Smurfy. Well, the reason I was able to treat that last one as easy was because I'd reviewed it before. I reviewed it, I think, yesterday or the day before. So it was pretty fresh in my head. And so what I had seen was the interdiff. So I was able to, like, see, I had accepted the changes before, and now I have accepted Johan's changes to the changes. I was able to remember, you know, what he was doing. Because it was a pretty simple change. He's exposing this thing called event utils in our testing code. So, oh yeah, the other ones are quite beefy. Yeah. Well, this one's pretty beefy too. And for one thing, it needs a better commit message. In general, hey, maybe I'll put this as a general comment as opposed to a line. Hey, J, what's this fellow's name? James Jans. James Jans. Thanks for this. A few notes. One, we need a better commit message here. Probably sufficient to say something like bug, what's the bug number? Bug 157, blah, 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 blah. Port page style actor to JS window actors for fission compatibility or something. Okay, 2, who knows? I preemptively started making a list there. So let's review this thing. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to review the registration of the actors. So he moved it from the legacy actors list to the actors list, which is great. So what happens is we had this child actor registered in the browser group for the page show event it was listening for, and then it was registered to listen to these 2 messages, and then it's set to match on that site selector. That's done. Does this actually work? Yes. Yes, matches should work. JS window actor.webidl. I believe it's tested. Test child. Toolkit actors. What? Test parent, test child, test parent. Matches. Test. DOM. Browser get actor filter. Yeah. So there are tests. Tests here. Let me permalink that actually. Permalink. What? Give me a permalink. Thank you. Okay, so events, page show, and then we register this page style child and then a page style parent, and it's running on all frames. That makes sense. This is a good registration. Good job. Thumbs up. So now let's take a look at how the page style child actor definition has changed. That'll be here. Oh, good. That's good. Getting to add that. And then we're saying, okay, we're extending JS window actor child now. That's right. We don't have to import actor child. Good, good, good. And I think he's moved the handle event to the top. Here's the old handle event. We check to see if the event target owner global, and we check to see if we weren't the top, then return. Event target owner global. If we weren't the top, we returned. He's not doing that anymore. He gets the owner global. He requests the idle callback, makes sure that there's a window, and then we get style sheets and we filter them, and then we send an async message and we say, hey, here are the style sheets. The document preferred style sheet set. How are we able to send that over a message? Document.preferred style sheet set. Oh, is it a string? Preferred style sheet set. Oh, I see. Okay. We were already doing that, so it should be fine to send through. I guess it's a string. So yeah, the first thing that jumps out to me is that before we were not doing anything if the window wasn't the top window. If it was a subframe, we'd bail out here. But now we are sending that information, and I'm trying to remember if that was an intentional choice. I'll write that in. I'll note that the original handle event was checking to see if win equals win.top and bailing out if that was not the case. What that roughly translates to, I think, is that we were never really paying attention to page show events being fired by subframe. Oh, but we need to now. We need to now. Okay, I understand. The reason we need to now is because originally we only had to wait for the top level page show, because if the top level page show occurred, I think at that point, any of the other subframe documents that are loaded, like at that point, we'd be fine to walk the frame tree and get the style sheets for the other frames. I think something like that. This page style menu was always really flaky, but I understand why he's doing it this way, because these subframes now may contain style sheets that we also want to switch, and they're not going to have their content sent up to the parent on the top level's page show if they're in a different process. So we have to listen to the page show event. But we're going to do it on this idle callback, which is fine. Something I'm noticing while reviewing anyways. I'm going to say this, I'm pretty sure the idle callbacks are never called if the window goes away or is closed. So I think this is belt and suspenders, but it's probably fine to keep as is, I suspect. Document style sheets, so we get the filtered style sheets, and then we send them up with this message, page style add. Okay. Now let's look at this filtering of style sheets. What do we do there? Filter style sheets. Only style sheets with a title can act as an alternative style sheet. That's fair enough. So it's going to go through each of the style sheets and make sure that there is a title and that they have media types, or have the correct media types. We don't want to match. We want to match only the ones that have the screen media type. And then if they have malformed URLs, we don't care about them. And then no data URIs, and then we return the result to the parent. Okay. Filtered style sheets, and those are what goes up, and then we send these up and these up. Okay, makes sense. That's on load. We send that stuff up. Now, whenever we receive a message from the parent, when the page's enabled style sheet is changed, we say, hey, we're turning off the author style because we're switching to a user selected style. And then we pass down the title. And we go through the titles and we check, we just match on the title essentially. If doc, what? How did this work before? We would say style sheet switch all. we would say style sheet switch all. There's a little bit of recursion in here, and then we'll say in this frame we would go through the doc style sheets, and then we'd flip the disabled attribute on it. Okay, so now what we're doing, this is interesting, we've got like 2 for loops. We can probably collapse these 2 for loops somehow, because like we do 2 passes, we can probably do it in one. Let's see. Does this doc contain a style sheet with this title? If not, it's a subframe style sheet that's being changed, so no need to disable style sheets here. So it'll go through all of them, and we check to see if we contain the style sheet. Otherwise, I feel like this could probably be more efficient. It looks like we, 1, scan the list of style sheets in the document to see if we have one with a matching title, and store whether or not we do in a variable. And then rescan the list of style sheets and if the style sheet has, we're looking at, has a title and we had noticed a match before, we set the disabled state to whether or not the title equals. Can we not try to do this instead? 1, scan the list of style sheets for each style sheet. No, iterate the list of style sheets for each style sheet. Oh, style sheet in frame. Oh, I see why he's doing it that way. Oh, because we only, in the event that the style sheet exists in the frame, then we want to disable all the other ones and enable the one that exists. Otherwise, like, we don't want to disable in the first pass. Okay, we were always doing 2 passes. It's like, hang on, document, style sheets. Title. No titles on these style sheets. So, yeah, we scan through. Otherwise, okay, this is probably fine. This is essentially what we were doing before. Okay. Okay. I thought we could be more efficient, but I guess not. Okay. And then what's the other one? Disable. So disable just puts the author style sheet disabled to true, so that there's no style supplied. Okay, so this makes sense. I dig what's going on here in the child. So now let's look at what's going on in the parent. In the parent, if we receive a message to add, then we get at the top browser, the window with menu access, because browser.ownerglobal, there's no window, we get rid of it. Permanent key, and we get the style menu. And we say, hey, add browser style sheets. Permanent key. Okay. What about responsive design mode? I worry that this is the sort of thing that might be broken with responsive design mode. There's something about that here in the documentation. If browser.outer browser this is going to, I think, break with responsive design mode. Break if responsive design mode is enabled. If that's the case, we need the workaround for that is here. And then he's exposed this function add browser style sheets. Permanent key. The permanent key is not associated with a browsing context. It's associated with a browser. If there's no sheet data, then we're going to set it. Otherwise, we're going to push the style sheets. Filtered style sheets. Sheet data dot filtered style sheets. Sheet data is the or of these two. Okay. Browsing, walk the browsing context tree. We're going to say send an async message. Send message to all. Permanent key. If there's sheet data and there are filtered style sheets, then we're going to say author style disabled is false. And then sheet dot disabled equals sheet dot title is not equal to title, so switch down to title, and then we send the title down. Okay. Were we doing that before? Were we managing the disabled state? Why is that important to set the disabled state up here? Do we ever check the disabled state up here? Why is it important to set the disabled state on the sheet here? Do we ever send this information back down to the content? Or do we use, oh, you know what? We might use it elsewhere in the browser UI. Hang on. What are the other changes? Glue. Or maybe we use it in a test. Do we use it in a test? Dot disabled. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's ever used. Do we ever send this back down to content, or do we read it somewhere in the parent that I'm not seeing? Let's just double check here. G page style menu. Where did it fill the pop-up? Oh, right here. Current style sheet disabled. I see. I see. And then if we select one, on command, switch style sheet, and switch style sheet, we'll say that. Page style switch. And then we send the style sheet info back up to the parent. That's what we do. Okay. I understand. Sheet and filtered style sheet. Say page style switch, and we send down the title. And if we disable the style, we disable. Okay, that all makes pretty good sense to me. Alright, what's happening here? A little bit of white space gets added. Brown as style sheets loaded. What's that? Waits for the style sheets to be loaded into the browser menu. The tab contains the website we're testing how many style sheets we expect to be loaded. Let style menu equals the tabs, owner global, page style menu. And then we get the permanent key for the tab. G browser selected tab dot permanent key. Oh, tabs do have permanent keys. Wait for a condition. We get the style menu, get the permanent key, and we wait for the menu, and the menu filter list style sheets length to be greater or equal to style sheet count. Waiting for style sheets to load. Okay, that's fair. Can you undo the white space change? Can you revert the white space changes in here, please? Otherwise, this looks pretty solid. I think we've also got this pattern. He started to like document these functions. I wonder if we should, while you're here, can you add a doc string to this function while you are here? All right. Match should work. I'm pretty sure that I'll call back. So it's going to be, I think, work around the permanent key associated with the browser key. Few notes. Thanks for this. I think we need a better commit message or something. A few notes. See below. But I think this is really close. Great job. Okay, so I'm going to request changes. Booyah. And with that, the review is done. And the only one left in my queue is this massive one having to do with plugins. But we will, I'll do that another time. For now, I think I'm going to call it there. Hey, Thank you so much for watching episode 192 of The Joy of Coding. I hope that was somewhat interesting. Next week, am I going to be in town? I should be in town. I should be okay. And we'll be doing episode 193. We are rapidly approaching episode 200. I haven't decided yet on what we want to do for episode 200. So if you have ideas, let me know. You can provide feedback on the form. The form is here in the agenda. Just click on this link, smash that agenda link, and then smash that Google form link, and let me know what you think. What should I do for episode 200? And what'd you think of the stream? And is reviewing code super boring, or is it like interesting? Or would you rather I did something else? Let me know. I read everything that comes in, so please let me know. And with that, I'm going to call it here. Thanks again for watching episode 192 of The Joy of Coding. My name's Mike Conley. You've been great. Let me just wake up my tablet so I can play some music on the way out. The little exit music. Oh, come on, tablet. This is like a super old Android tablet that I think is running like Gingerbread, or maybe even an earlier version of Android. It's pretty bad. Anyways, thanks so much, and I'm gonna switch now to this screen and close out. Take care. Bye-bye. See ya.